I expect it to be long. And so strap in, boys, because game number 1 is getting underway right now. And I can tell you, it's not going to end on turn 5 like some of the games we've seen lately.
I'm just going to laugh at his face hunter on both sides. They're like, I just wanted a smork.
Mech Shaman versus Mech Shaman.
Like, come on, guys. But yeah, this is another deck I thought we'd see a good bit of today in this matchup, and that's Druid.
Yeah, Druid just, I think, performs well against a lot of the control decks that are out there. And so because of that, it's a pretty safe lead, and it makes some pretty reasonable sense. Kaldi reading into this a little bit, though, Druid at times can pose a major threat. I'm sorry, Paladin at times can pose a major threat to Druid.
If this is the aggro Paladin, and it is, I love this matchup for the aggro Paladin side. Now, he's got a little bit of a different build. We've seen you don't always see Haunted Creeper. Now, when they have something like Haunted Creeper, they're a little more board-centric, so you might see Argent Protector also in this deck.
Yeah, I'm just going to get on the ground running early, though. You know, they are just 1 health minions, but the idea here is that it's like death by 1,000 cuts. You know, you punch them enough times, they're going to be out of this match. And Druid doesn't do a good job at stabilizing lots of small minions without swipe.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't draw swipes, stuff like I was about to actually mention this card, Blessing of Kings can really start getting out of hand here, especially if you put it on minions that have Divine Shield. That is a real problem for Druids.
Yeah, and his hand continues to grow heavy. Lots of 5 drops and a 7 drop.
And is Kaldi going to play into swipe this turn?
There's no way that you don't play into swipe this turn. You jam that muster for battle and start going.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, is swipe even the worst thing in the world for you here after this turn? And it's really, you know, you can still recover a little bit, but if he doesn't have swipe here, and we see Neirea doesn't yet, look at this board position he has. What is Neirea going to do next turn, and how good is this Blessing of Kings going to be?
Yeah, not only is swipe not very good turn here, but the muster for battle will still get 4 damage if he has swipe. I mean, he gets 4 swings from a Light's Justice.
No, not the worst card in the world for Neirea here. Not the best, but it's, you know, something he can play here on turn 4. You know, he was going to have to just Wrath and Hero Power. If he wants to, he can now Keeper of the Grove, get something else on the board here. You know, maybe even silence this Haunted Creeper or silence this. Yeah, I like this play.
Yeah, this is an investment in the board position. Neirea is very aware that if he gets some repetitive sources that can help clear out this board, that's really the way he's going to stabilize, because he doesn't have the utility to do that right now.
And not just that, but you want to take care of that Divine Shield as quickly as possible. Something like Blessing of Kings on a Divine Shield taunt minion is a nightmare for this deck.
Yeah. Now, if he is anticipating Blessing of Kings, I would actually advocate holding the Keeper of the Grove, but this is a situation where he's hoping his opponent just doesn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a hedge here. Like, that's why he picked that one. He's like, just in case that happens.
What a draw.
Now, for the guys, you know, if you're not familiar with this Druid deck, I mean, sorry, this Paladin deck, this is what it tries to do. It tries to flood the board with a bunch of very cheap, efficient minions, and then it's going to cast that card in the left side of his hand there, Divine Favor. That one draws cards equal to where your hand becomes equal to your opponent's hand.
You know, I look at that art, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, an angry dude with glowing eyes draws me a bunch of cards?
Yeah, the name of it, Divine Favor, like flavor-wise, it just doesn't fit to me very much. Like, you know, like Blessing of Kings and Divine Favor sound very similar to me, and they're very, very different cards.
Well, I can see it from that sense.
Yes, but you get what I'm saying? When you have something called Blessing of Kings that's meant to, like, buff up a minion and kill your opponent, and they have this thing called Divine Favor, which is practically the exact same name.
No, it's a blessing from the gods. You
well,
gain the wisdom of all the power in the world.
Well, I mean, you know, this is like an homage to back in the day, and like back then, you know, kings were almost considered gods, you know, godlike figures. So the cards have the same name to me, but they do such different things.
Just look at that art, and I wonder why. And I'm wondering why Neirea has been put in this position, because this is not easy.
Maybe he's not angry. Maybe it's the power that he's gaining from drawing all those cards. It's just seeping out of him.
he's turning into an evil overlord at this point.
He's going like full Super Saiyan, just yellows going everywhere.
Yeah, I wonder if Charge here is actually better than Taunt, because Taunt will open him up to silence.
Yeah, you know, they usually do play some Owls in this deck. I mean, you know, most aggressive decks, Owl is a card that you're going to find as at least a 1 of, if not a 2 of. I don't mind charging here just to take care of the Annoyatron, because it does leave just a bunch of 1-powered things on the board, and you are at 25 with some recovery left over. You know, you do have Wrath, you do have Dr. Boom, you want to have a stable board here, and this is going to get punished.
That one stings a bit. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he can do a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways for him to get through here. You know, he's got Blessing of Kings with Abusive Sergeant if he wants to push through and leave the minion behind. Yeah, I was about to say, if he puts this on the Haunted Creeper, he can Blessing of Kings here, use Abusive Sergeant, push through, and get a ton of damage through.
Yeah, I think he's just going to take the extra damage.
Yeah.
Like trading 4 of your life for 1 extra damage right now actually is...
It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you're going to hold the Abusive Sergeant to get through extra damage later in the game as well, maybe push through another taunt. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why this matchup is so hard for the Druid. They just can only do one thing in a turn. You know, and swipe is only so good at certain times. That's a ditty.
Yeah, Dark Iron Dwarf is a very, very interesting card in this build. Yeah, I think this is honestly kind of a nod to the aggressive or to the control style of this matchup.
He wants to be able to push the smaller minions into bigger ones, trade up, maybe even get Big Game Hunter to get more value.
That's what I'm looking at as the Big Game Hunter here. Like if you find a spot where you Dark Iron Dwarf and Big Game Hunter a minion, like that's a good thing to be doing.
He can actually, I mean, this isn't the end of the world, but he can actually do that next turn as well.
Yeah, that's if he lives. 5, 6,
That's
7,
if he
8,
lives,
9,
yeah.
10, 11, 12, 13 points of damage for Kaldi. 2 points of damage will do it. Shielded Minibot won't, but it'll give him enough stuff on board that I don't see Neirea climbing out of this.
It's pretty much over here because he's going to Divine Favor here as well, and that's going to be a lot of cards, Nathan.
No, it's only 5.
This is higher than I can count.
Yeah, Wolf Rider is in here as well. This deck is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, some of them have Wolf Rider, some of them have Arcane Golem. It just depends on, what kind of build you want. Some even have both. I've seen some very angry versions of this deck.
Yeah, it's hard to not see an angry version of this deck. Kaldi is that Silverhand Recruit's been inflation of the muster for battle the entire game. That muster has pulled some weight, but so have the Divine
and
Kings.
There's a swipe, and it's a little bit late.
Yeah,
he's actually at 2 here.
Yeah, too little, too late. Neirea's going to do what he can, but just not happening at the end of the day.
It's not going to be enough.
Kaldi, easy game 1 for him, and this is the matchup that he's almost specifically looking for. If the Druid does not draw almost perfectly, you're not going to win this game.
I mean, they can even draw perfectly as well and still not be able to win this game because, what's a perfect draw in this matchup? You get a lot of big taunts out. I mean, they can still get through them very easily. It's just such a hard matchup for them because, again, you're only doing one thing a turn almost every turn of the game, while the Paladin deck does one thing on turn 1, one thing on turn 2, and then 2 things on turn 3, 2 things on turn 4, or they just make one giant minion and run you over.